The weirdest thing was I had to go in and defend D&D to the staff of the library.
Sure.
Because
Satanic Panic, baby.
Yes, it was the Satanic Panic days. And this lady who went to the library constantly, and we all jokingly, the kids, we were all cruel. So we called her the Fly Lady. We called her the Fly Lady because she had these huge glasses. They were like gigantic. They made her look like she was in The Fly, you know. The Fly Lady came in and complained to the head of the library that, you know, this was bad for people and it was going to like cause them to become Pardue for Mazes and Monsters, and kids would suicide and satanic, you know, rifts would open up and demons would get all this stuff. Why couldn't we just have a Miss Pac-Man tournament?
They have polyhedral dice.
Right. So the library called me in, and the whole library staff sitting there, the president of the library, like, you know, the head of the local division, whatever, all these librarians. Why can't we just have a Miss Pac-Man competition? And can you assure us that this is safe? And so I did it by having them roll up characters.
Oh, and they didn't catch on fire. They didn't get drugged to hell.
Yeah,
interesting.
Clearly, they weren't aware of the deeply occult origins of Miss Pac-Man.
Right.
Like,
That would have been funny.
it feels a little weird. I'm learning math and reading skills.
Right.
And I'm socializing. What's going on?
Right. I was like, I don't know how we would afford the Miss Pac-Man machines. They're pretty expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
But here, roll these dice. Now do it again. That's your and I gave this horrible 14-year-old's explanation of the stat system. And by the time I was done, they were like, let me out of here.
Yeah. The classic mistake of telling people how you're going to play the game. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, well, I think I had very similar things. I was actually in a studio audience randomly where Pat Robertson was during that time.
Oh,
and it wasn't the only thing he talked about, but he definitely swung around for a quick jab at it. And I was like, I actually know about this. And I'm trying to like get to the mic to ask a question. Of course, I didn't get to the mic to ask a question. That would have been too good. But yeah, those were weird times. Those were definitely weird times.
You remember the Chick tracks?
Oh, yes. Jack Chick, man.
You can still find them online if you go to Jack Chick. So I attempted something recently, and I swear to God, this will cycle back to your question. I attempted something recently, and I failed at it. But I put the idea out there to see if there's anyone who's more persuasive and more of a con artist than I am can pull it off. I called Jack Chick's company, and I pretended to be an evangelical deeply concerned about reaching the young people in my flock who don't seem to want to listen to any of my sermons. However, they do buy T-shirts. and could I license Dark Dungeons to create T-shirts and other paraphernalia that I could get through to my flock with? And after going
tell me
like
this worked, please.
No, it didn't work.
No.
After going 2 bumps up the ladder and getting like close to who's ever at the top of the hierarchy at Jack Chick tracks for how
it's a short ladder. It's a short ladder, Lou.
Finally, like the third person I talked to was like, "No, we're not licensing for merchandise at this time." Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they figured me out.
Yeah, you had the Borat problem. You were too, they knew.
Too over the top.
They saw you coming. Yeah.
Yeah, too filled with stereotypes and my own anti-evangelical bigotry.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So Texas accent is terrible. That's what it was.
All right, was it Texas? I don't even know what.
That Kentucky accent was terrible.
That Kentucky.
That Kentucky can
Pennsylvania. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I did wind up making a T-shirt because you can go to Jack Chick and you can see like all the samples and you can read those tracks that he wrote in the 80s against D&D. And
for personal use, he made this for personal use.
For personal use only. It's true. I did it for personal use only. In fact, I did it fair use. I did it as satire.
Perfect.
And I downloaded the image and made a T-shirt on it out of Zazzle.
Oh, yeah.
It was what was the panel? The one where Debbie goes, I used the mind control spell on my father because he wouldn't let me play D&D.
Yeah, like if you could use a mind control spell, why would you waste it on that? Go to the bank.
Right. And so the answer to your question is, it is this kind of experience, including running a tournament, that leads to Iron GM, not simply being a GM. I think
Yeah, right on.
Organizing an event.
Yeah, I've met now a couple of organizers, KC being one of them, but also Alex Kammer, who was on last show, talking with him about that kind of stuff. And I think that desire to organize people, obviously is with every GM, but then that whatever that meta thing is that happens where you're like, I want to fill a whole building with people and have all those headaches.
It's actually called insanity.
Yeah, there's a listing in the DSLM 7 or whatever.
Well, Rone Barton, who unfortunately couldn't make it this evening, who's my collaborator in just about everything.
Yeah,
And,
conspirator.
Collaborator, tomato. Let's put it this way: anything that I do that gets his input winds up being better than if I had done it on my own.
Yep. Collaboration is key.
Yeah, you find that kind of person who you just mesh with creatively and who's brilliant in their own right. And if you're me, you lack on like a tick.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's like Brian, he found me.
Wow.
High five! I set you up for that. Here, I'm high fiving.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
I'll just drink and shut up.
But we started running Iron GM event in 2010, and once we started doing it,
I think Frank House has won every one since, hadn't he? He's like won all 9 of them. This according to
That's what he says.
If you ask him, yeah.
Yeah.
Or when he sits there at night with his eyes closed, that's the way it plays out in his head.
Now, Lou, after
Hope
he
you're
won
watching
his
this, Eric.
third
I'm sorry, what's that?
after he won his third, I actually went and I bought him a T-shirt to celebrate, and I hyped this up pretty big. And when he opened it up, it said "World's Okayest GM."
Oh yeah.
and it was priceless.
Oh, that's great. That's
The
great.
look on his face was priceless.
But Eric is a good GM. He's very creative and spontaneous. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's so for those who don't know, Iron
Yeah,
GM,
please.
yeah, an Iron GM, we give out three secret story elements: a location, a monster, and a narrative situation. GMs have an hour to make characters. Players have an hour to create an adventure, I should say. Players have an hour to make characters. GMs are only allowed to say 3 words to their players at the table to guide character creation. At the end of the event, the players at the table are given scorecards and they rate their GM. We actually had the scoring system developed by a forensic psychiatrist. No, not forensic.
Pathological murderer.
Yes, Dexter. He's a psychologist and a statistician who does voting analysis for the municipality of Westchester. Collaborated to create the scoring system. So players rate their GMs. Suck rocks or blow my socks off, right? And then we give out prizes to the top 3 winners, and to the players at every table as well. So by the end of the day, we're usually giving out $20,000 to $30,000 worth of gaming product every year.
Wow.
The Iron
Holy cow.
World Championship in Gen Con. Yeah, we had one year. We had one year where a husband and the wife and her husband won first and second place, and so they had so much stuff they practically had to get another plane ticket for their stuff.
Wow.
Wow.
Pounds of, Paizo sponsors us heavily with products like that. Sometimes Wizards does as well. God, all sorts of massive prize amounts. Off-World Designs does a T-shirt for us free every year. One of those goes to every single person there. So it's it's like 126 T-shirts that Eric designs.
So where's the next competition?
Gen Con.
Yeah.
1 month.
Be there.
Yes.
Month Gen Con. We have regional semifinals that take place, and they have to send their competitors to compete at Gen Con. TotalCon on the East Coast usually does that, but we've been international. We've been to Canada, we've been to Arizona, we've been to LA, all over the place.
Outstanding.
What does a convention have to do to enter? Like, what is the process?
Oh, to be a regional semifinal?
Or to provide to the regionals, I suppose.
So there's two different categories for a convention.
Bribery.
Yeah. You can
I was
anyone,
getting there.
any game store, any convention we have a free license for what we call an Iron GM local, which means you're just running it locally for yourselves. Here's some guidelines. Here's how you have to use the Iron GM name, and here's a bunch of instruction and support material. Go have at, have fun. If you're an Iron GM regional semifinal, you have to bring Rone and I there to run the event. And then the convention has to send their winner to Gen Con, pay for their 4 days of hotel, pay for their 4-day badge, pay for their transportation. That's it. We don't charge anything else, and Rone and I don't get paid for it.
Nice.
We just don't want it to cost us anything.
Yeah.
Reasonable. With all the conventions around anymore, it's it would get pretty expensive pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. So we pay our own food, but you got to get us there, and you got to put us up in a hotel for the event.
So let's flip this on its head for a moment. If I am a random person who thinks that I am a fantastic GM and I want to get involved in this, clearly,
Particularly after watching this episode.
how do I get involved?
You have one of two ways. Either there's a convention near you holding a local or a regional semifinal, and you go to that and you sign up for it and you compete, or you get a ticket faster than that guy sitting next to you when the events open up at Gen Con.
Or you wait for him to get a ticket, and then
1-2 to the face.
Yeah, and then you take the ticket, and now it's yours. Yeah.
But the player seats sell out in under 2 hours. They're gone.
Wow.
GM seats usually drag on into the day, and typically somebody has a case of nerves and drops out at the last minute. So it's always worth showing up with some generics just in case.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, awesome.
It's huge fun. Every time someone rolls a natural 20, the entire table shouts "Bonsai!" and staff and Rone and I, and we all run over with plushy D20s and peg people with them and hang tiny necklaces around their necks. And then we open up with there's a lot of show when we open up. People these days, they're showing up in costumes and demon masks and luchador outfits. There's a giant belt we made that's like a world wrestling belt. That's the champion's belt. The incoming champion gets a soundtrack, and I usually do like a comedy bit where Rone and I do a comedy bit where we're roasting the incoming competitors, telling everyone where they're from and what they said, why they were going to win. Rone is running the sound system. It's very loud. It's very, very loud. He composed the music.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So for people who've gone to conventions but haven't seen this event, it's like an adventure league setup where it's a big room with lots of tables all simultaneously play, but then it's like a large slathering like Metallica and 80s wrestling.
Yes,
like a layer cake of those elements,
mashed with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I like it already. I definitely want to do this next year.
And what it does test is improvisational GMing. Right. There are other kinds of GMing that are equally brilliant in their own way and different from being able to improv concepts. But if so, I wouldn't say it rates all kinds of GMing skills, but it does test improvisational GMing skills.
Yeah, I'm definitely an improv.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear about it because I want to actually run. I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't this year. Obviously, didn't sign up for it, but also I'm running a ton of other stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. I love the 3-word thing. Plus, I did a little improv here in town at Comedy Sports. So like understanding how to say yes and is really critical to that kind of game experience.
And we need to come watch and maybe do some live stream of the events and make sure people get to witness
100%.
the spectacle that is the Iron GM games.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. Frank House is pretty interesting. He's made a thing of not hearing what the 3 words are.
Yeah, I hear he upped his game.
Yeah, so it was a year or 2 years ago, he made a giant cardboard cutout of himself with tarot sheets that had random answers on them, like an 8-ball, like a magic 8-ball, and he stuck the giant cardboard cutout of himself at the table. And he just said, and he held up a sign that said question mark, and then he pointed to the tear-off sheets, and then he left. And then he doesn't come back in until after every other GM we've said go, and they're running to their tables. Then he walks up to his tables and goes, and that's when he hears the 3 words that he has to improv off of.
Yeah. I think when you're hot shit at that kind of game, an hour is too much. You know what I mean? Like seriously, I think having like 5 minutes would be way better for me, because I don't need to like double think anything. I gotta go with what I'm gonna go with, you know. Well, that is super cool. And I definitely, when is it? Do you know? I don't expect you to know.
12 noon on Saturday.
Oh, easy peasy.
Oh, easy.
Well, that's easy. I'm free on Saturday afternoon. Maybe we definitely should stop by.
Yeah. You should stop by, and like I said, we often have attacks of nerves, and I'm often looking for a GM at the last second. It's not infrequent that somebody bags. I've had people be there, head to their table, turn around, and run out the door. Like they just crack. They can't do it.
I love it. I love the
I can absolutely see that.
The level of terror that goes with this game. That sounds awesome.
No, I felt awful for it. Then I'm down, but then Rone and I are down a GM, and we're like, anybody in the audience wanna?
So hey, has Gamehole Con? Have you ever done anything at Gamehole Con?
We have been talking with them about it.
Killer.
The past year or so has been problematic for a variety of reasons. Some of them were personal and health issues, but most recently it was Grimmer Space.